What's up everybody, welcome back or to the channel. So today we're going to be doing something that should be a little simple and easy. We're going to be taking off the ignition switch off my 2016 Street Glide Special, and we're going to manually align all the drums. Now, if you've watched one of my other videos where I was ripping everything apart, because I'm going to be swapping my bars out for 16-inch ape hangers, I'm actually still working on it right now. I made the mistake of pulling the key switch portion out of the ignition assembly, and without paying attention, I was turning the wheel and locked everything out and screwed up everything. So not a big deal. It's pretty easy to fix that. Again, accidents happen. We all make mistakes, but again, we'll get that fixed today. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the assembly off. We're going to rip it apart. We're going to align all the drums. We're going to put it all back together and stick it on the bike at the end. And hopefully, if everything goes good, we'll be able to fix it from home. Now, to replace one of these units, you could be $100 to $150 or more to get a full replacement. Or you could be at least half that, taking it somewhere to have somebody professionally service it. But you could save all that money by just doing it yourself. So stay tuned. I'm going to teach you how to do it. So what you want to do is take your switch here, turn it like that to where it says fork lock is facing straight up. Then what you want to do is stick your key in. Okay? And then underneath, you'll feel it. It's like a little... Right here at the bottom corner, there's a little button here. You press that in with your finger, press down on the key, and tilt it counterclockwise, just a small amount, and then you unlock your switch here, and here's your spring. So I did make a small mistake when I had the ignition switch taken out. I turned the wheel, not thinking, and screwed up the ignition alignment. So I just went ahead and took the whole ignition assembly off, which is over here. Like this. I'll have to get a star bit that fits that because it has that little nub in the middle, and take this apart and I'll try to align that. Okay, so we're going to start getting into this right now. Now there are other tools you can buy online. I bought one of these. I'm just honestly not having a whole lot of luck using it from the top to align everything. So I'm going to take this all apart and we're going to kind of take a look at how this works. So basically, we're going to manually realign our ignition. So after you take the ignition off, it's actually sitting on your bike just like this, okay? There are 2 hex bolts at the very bottom. Once you take those 2 hex bolts out, this whole entire assembly pops right out, and this is what it looks like. You're gonna have to unplug your harness here as well. Once you do that, you're gonna have to take these 2 safety star bolts out. You're gonna need one of these tools here that has the star bit, but it has the little hole in the tip. And that would actually be what looks like a T15. So that's a star bit, and that's one of those safety star bits with the hole at the top. Okay, so now that we got our 2 bolts out, before you start opening your door, this little tab right here is a little bar that comes down, and you can see the tab sticking out right there. That tab is covering a spring-loaded component. So what you're going to do is, before you slide this door up, take your thumb, cover this right here, and I'll show you why. Once you pop that up, move that out of the way. Play around with here for a second. Wiggle it out of place here. There we go. Okay, there we go. So this piece right here, and there's a spring. So you don't want to lose those, because if that shoots out, it's going to be impossible to find that tiny spring. Your ignition is a 3-part ignition. So you're going to have the top piece here, the middle piece, and then the bottom piece. Now we're going to have to take a couple things out of here first. So one of the things we're going to have to do first is, there's a spring right here. And that spring is just looped over this little post right here. It's not really spring loaded per se, so you could pretty much just grab it with your finger and gently lift it out of there. And we're gonna set that out of the way. Then there's a post right here that technically can just slide right out. Okay, and that is holding this inside. Okay, so we're going to set that over here. So now all of your main components are taken out, okay? So here's your main three components, and each one of these has a specific synchronized position it needs to be in. So when you take your main key housing out of the ignition while the bars are straight, but then this is out and you turn your bars like I did, what happens is one of these three components could twist out of place. Once that happens, you're done. You're gonna have to take it apart and realign it. Now, supposedly this tool can help fix all that. I just haven't figured out how to easily use it yet. I've read a lot of people say this is very helpful. I'm just not sure exactly how to use it to line everything up. So I'm going to go ahead and just do this manually. So the first component is this top piece. I'm going to gently slide it out. Now this one here, you're going to have to be careful of. Before I pull it out, I'm going to just explain something. This top piece has spring-loaded ball bearings right here. So as long as you gently slide it out and pinch it from the bottom and top like this, nothing's going to pop out at you. So let's just slide this out. And let's set this down for a second so I can explain this piece. This top piece, you see that little ball right there? That little ball right there? This is the part that when you turn, it clicks. And all there is a spring in here that's putting tension on that ball bearing to hit these corners. That's why there's 4 corners here. So when you turn your ignition, let me try to do this without popping out. There's that clicking sound. Okay, so that's all it is. The springs in here are pushing tension on these balls so that every time you turn your ignition and it makes that clicking sound, that's all it's doing. So we're gonna have to line this one up, and we'll do that in a minute. So we're gonna sit that down right there. So the second and the third part come out together, but they are 2 separate pieces. So what we're gonna have to do is try to wiggle this out. There we go. So you're gonna basically twist this by grabbing that harness and twist it, and then gently pull it out. Okay, and that's it. This whole housing is just a plastic housing. This bottom piece, so that washer has to go up under here when you're done. Remember, that's where it goes. We're gonna set that off to the side here too. So these are your 3 main components: the top piece, the middle piece, and the bottom piece. These all have to sync up. Now the bottom piece isn't so hard because it does spin around in here. So we'll do that one last. Let me move some of these pieces out of the way so I can keep you in the camera. Okay. So this is what we're gonna start to do. So when your key is in the unlock position, you hold this button in, turn the key past the unlock position, and it locks that metal plate out of place. So keep it like that. So here's how we're gonna do this. We know that this is how it goes in. This part here faces down. The wheel with the ball bearings faces up. So we know it goes in like this, okay? Now you have to imagine it being on the bike like this. So this is how it's gonna be sitting on the bike, right? So what we need to do first is figure out where our home position is. So I would say we could just start it with this key ignition facing down and forward. So what we're gonna do is line this up here like that, okay? So that's gonna be our starting position. So your main key assembly here has basically 3 keys: the top key, the middle key, the bottom key, okay? So how this works is when your key assembly is in the ignition like so, right? This top piece right here is what has to line up with this top piece here. So when we stick this in here, okay? Now we have a spring right here that goes on. We'll put that on last. But this is basically our home position, okay? So you can see how that is. So now what we're gonna do is slide this out, okay? Now, we know that this is going to go in basically like that, right? Because the harness is off to the side. So you're going to be lining it like this. So what we need to do is line this up with the middle peg. So I know this is going to lay in my housing like this with the harness off to the side. So what I now need to do is line it up so that this middle peg lines up just like that, okay? So that my housing is facing straight up and down. So that one is now lined up. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our sleeve. Now this bottom one, we're just going to stick in this bottom piece right here. Doesn't quite really matter what position it's in right now because we'll twist that into place here in a minute. Let's try to line this up now. Okay. All right. Okay, so now, since we're looking at it from the back, we're gonna face it, the key, away from us. So we're gonna drop that in. As you can see, you see how it's not gonna come down? Because we have to line the bottom one up. So now, we just basically have to twist the bottom one until we can get the key to drop down. Oh, I think we got it. So the best way to figure that out is to make sure it goes all the way in and out perfectly like so. And the best way to kind of figure that out is take your top portion here and line it up with the bottom of that silver portion there. Right about there is pretty much right where that shaft needs to be. Once you get it there, then take your key, turn it clockwise to the unlock position. Now we're locked. Now, everything's lined up. Okay, so now let's just start putting everything back together. So what I would do is start with this bottom piece here with that circle facing forward. Find your spring, and it has like a flat back. You see how the spring top is towards the back? Face that towards right here. Sit it down in there just like so. Okay? Then slide it up from the bottom. Just like that. Then what you want to do is get your little metal piece with the spring in it and slide it in the hole. Now what you want to do is take this little bar or whatever you want, press in, and then take your finger and slide it up. Okay, that way that spring-loaded pin is up here. By doing that, your post here goes through the spring top, through that metal loop, and should slide right in to lock into place. Because remember, right in the back, there's a little slot for that pin to slide straight in. So that's basically what you want it to look like right there. Okay? Shine some light in here so you can kind of see. That's your neutral off position, just like that. Then we're going to go ahead, take our back plate with the tongue here, drop it down in there like so. Just like that. Okay, now we're going to take our bolts, put them back in. Now I would not mess with this until you get it back installed in the bike. So right now this pin here is locked in the up off position. Once you set this to a lock, that pin is going to drop down, and that's when you don't want it to get it locked out of place, so you're going to have to do this all over again. So right now we are in a very neutral off position, just like so. Everything is lined up. everything works. So now we're just gonna leave it just like that. Then we're gonna go ahead, install it back on the bike. Now keep in mind, my bike is not fully done yet, but I can at least get this mounted on the bike back to its position the way it was. But that's it. That's how simple it is to realign your ignition assembly here. These brand new might go for $100 to $150. If you didn't buy one brand new because you screwed yours up, all you gotta do is take it apart and realign it yourself and save yourself a ton of money instead of paying a motorcycle mechanic to do it. So again, it's really not that hard. Just take your time. But overall, that's it. So now my ignition is fixed. Now we can get it back on the bike. Okay, so what I gotta do is just go ahead and bolt my ignition back on. I have my bolts just sitting here, so I'll just pull those out, put the ignition back in position, lock everything back down. Now I'm gonna do this with my bar in the neutral centered off position, which is how I have my ignition set up. So I'm just gonna go ahead and have this bolted on just like that, where my ignition switch is in the off position. Get that bolted on, and then we'll test it out. So let me go ahead and bolt that on, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I still have the fuse out right now because I'm still working on the bike. I got my bars put on, I got the ignition fixed. I have not done the clutch and brake line extension yet, but I just wanted to show you that I did fix my ignition. So as of right now, it's in the off position. The bars turn left to right, okay? So now if I want to lock my bar, I can turn it all the way to the lock bar position. Press down. Bars are now locked. Okay, let me unlock them. Bars are nice and free. So everything's fixed right now. Now again, I do not have the harness hooked up yet because I'm still working on everything. So again, I just wanted to show you that I did fix the ignition manually and everything was simple and easy. Again, to replace one of these is probably easily $150. Or if you took yours to a mechanic to fix, you're gonna be paying a lot of money in labor. It took me literally about 10 to 15 minutes to fix that myself, and it's not that hard, and now it's fixed. So now I can move on with the bike build. Okay, so we got the ignition completely done. I have it back installed. Everything works as it should. And overall, it was a fairly easy job to get that aligned manually. Now, they do sell tools like this online that you can buy on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description for this one here. You can get these for around $17 to $20. They do have more expensive ones out there, but this is about the cheapest one I could find. Now, this is mainly used if you have your ignition pulled out, you can slide this down all the way in, and that way if you happen to turn your bars, it kind of keeps all of your drums inside lined up. Now, sometimes you could use this if one of the drums, especially the top one, happens to get out of alignment. You could stick this one gently in and then align it, but technically you could probably do the same thing with your key. But either way, you could get a tool like this. It's primarily used to slide down in the drums when you're actually installing the whole assembly so that the drums don't slide out of place. Some people are pretty good at using this to actually align the drums, but I just didn't find it as easy as just taking the whole thing apart and manually aligning all the drums myself. Okay, so we just went ahead, put the bike down on the ground, pulled the jack out, opened up the garage door. I put my seat on. Let's go ahead and give it a go.
Dinosaur adventure.
Turn that off. Turn on the ignition. We are in neutral. Whew, here we go. Okay, everybody, we are finally done. I hope this video helps some of you out. Again, it's a pretty simple, easy task to do. You just have to take your time and align everything properly. But overall, it's not that hard to do, and you can save a ton of money by just doing it yourself. So that's it for today's video. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, like this video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section, and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. And do me a favor, subscribe to the channel because it definitely helps me out and I greatly appreciate it. So that's it. I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. Thank you. I truly appreciate you all. And as always, see you in the next video.